Chelsea throw away the opening opportunity for Graham Potter to get his first win as Chelsea manager after the opening goal from the brilliant Raheem Sterling. Haaland scores another goal, making it 26 Champions League goals in 21 Champions League appearances, winning the game against his former club, Dortmund. Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi on fire again and on target again for Paris Saint-Germain. We're going to give you a full roundup of tonight's Champions League action. We are sponsored by our friends over at Top Kicks 23. Get the app downloaded now by scanning the QR code on the screen or clicking on the link in the description below. It's going to be a big show. Let's go. Welcome to the highlights and match reaction show for the UEFA Champions League. We are sponsored by our partners for the entire season at Tops Kick 23. Tops Kick are the official digital collectibles app of the UEFA Champions League. Tops Kick is back for the 22-23 season, where you can collect and trade your favorite players from across the Champions League with football fans all around the world. The app has new packs available every week, brand new cards, original artworks, and classic top card designs. Throughout the course of this season, I want to build with you the ultimate Champions League squad with Tops Kick. So get the app downloaded right now. It's available worldwide and it is free. I'm going to be playing along throughout the entire Champions League season from tonight right and through to the final, and I want to see you there. The link is available in the description below to download the Tops Kicks 23 app. You can also scan the QR code that will be on the screen throughout the course of this stream. But make sure like buttons are being smashed. You're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Big shout out to Tops. Let's do this. What a night of Champions League action we have just witnessed. Raheem Sterling with the opening goal in the Graham Potter era. Todd B's master plan, trying to bring it to light. You know, different roles for some players tonight, a back four being used, but still a lack of clinical edge from Chelsea, really costing them in the end. A poor moment defensively, and Salzburg were able to get the equaliser. Dortmund, courtesy of Jude Bellingham, take the lead against Manchester City, but that man Haaland again, from a brilliant cross by the way from Cancelo, sealing the deal for Pep Guardiola's men. Look, the guy is just a machine. He's just relentless, and he suits Manchester City down to the ground. We, of course, want your instant reaction, want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you're saying. But it's been a really good week of Champions League football, no doubt about it. We will touch on Paris Saint-Germain as well, and any other games you want to speak about. We were watching quite a few of them over the course of today. But I want to go to some of your match reactions straight away here. Terry said he was scared. Listen, you're really misrepresenting what I said. I'm talking about the medium to long term, but if that's how you want to banter, go for it. There we go. Reese had seen some improvements. Like, it was always hard to see improvements. It was always going to be hard to see improvements straight away from Chelsea. There were bits and pieces. Raheem Sterling, by the way he was being utilized out wide, he was very dangerous. He was on the ball. It's going to take time, though. It's going to take time for Potter to understand which of the Chelsea players he can rely on, who are actually going to fit his system the best. What you do in training and what you do on the pitch when you cross the white line are two very, very different things altogether. C here says, a new manager, same Chelsea. The forwards might as well play for Tottenham for how much of a bottle jobs they are, is what C's got to say. If City fail to win the Champions League with Haaland, it will be peak. I agree. Like, with that man, he's basically a cheat code. He's basically a cheat code. There's no doubt about it at all. Haaland, like Khabib, is a puzzle no one can solve. Well, he just has great positioning. And he doesn't need skill, pace, techers, silks to be a baller, to pass the eye test, because he does the hardest thing in football, in my opinion, right now, better than anybody else. He puts the ball into the back of the net. And the way he plays, he could stay at City for 15 years. He could do this at 40. He just needs to drift into the right space and get his foot on the ball. He's an absolute phenom of a man. And I've said it before. One of the greatest goal-scoring record in Europe for a player of his age, 22 years and younger, since R9, 26 Champions League goals in 21 games, the best goal-scoring return in any attacker's first 21 Champions League games in the history of the Champions League. It is absolutely phenomenal. He's out of this world, Haaland. Terry, that statement that you made, Haaland being one of the best finishers of all time, is so true. I think only 2 or 3 players can finish like that. Well, I said it before. People, what they do is they misconstrue the words when I say finisher, and they go, "You say he's a better footballer than Messi." And I didn't use those words. It's the way people try and debate in this polarized world we live in. The best young finisher I've seen since R9, because at this age, like the Messi and Ronaldo were just starting to score at this rate. At 22, they weren't doing it at 19, 18, 19, 20. That's why at this age, the best young finisher, goal poacher, scorer I've seen since R9. R9 had much more to his game than Haaland does. But in terms of finishing, I'm just isolating it down out of this world, no doubt about it. Tuchel wasn't the problem. By the way, always the players is what C's got to say. I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure about that myself. I'm not too sure about that, but we will see. Let's take a look at some more of these comments coming through here that have been posted. City very lucky. Dortmund with so many injuries. I get you on that. I mean, you want to say tap-in land. That wasn't a tap-in tonight. How many other players have you seen score that goal this season? How many times can we see Chelsea were unlucky? Finish your damn chances. Yeah, I kind of hear that. I kind of hear what you're saying there, but I don't think anyone's calling Chelsea unlucky tonight. We're saying they weren't clinical. I don't know what people in the comments are saying. I don't think they were unlucky. That isn't what I would say personally. I wouldn't say unlucky. I would say that they've got to get that clinical edge. And this is what Graham Potter's now got to do. Graham Potter has almost got to go out of his way now and find which combination of players works. I think Raheem Sterling is going to be absolutely fine, but they've got to move on to they've got to get other players back to the very, very best of levels. There's no doubt. Chelsea won't get top 5 is what Mohamed Amer says here. Mohamed, maybe you're right. Maybe they won't, but we will see. I'm going to bring my panel on very, very soon. Make sure you stay with us and you smash that like button. As per the intro, we are sponsored by Tops Kicks 23 for the whole season, whole Champions League season. The new Champions League 22-23 cards have now been released. So if you've downloaded the app already, you get to start opening those packs tonight. The fantasy game is going to be available, I believe, for the next round of games, and I can't wait to start using it. So get it downloaded now. It's free. It's available all around the world. It's going to be a big part of the Football Terraces Champions League nights moving forward, picking our fantasy teams, going head-to-head with you to see who has the best football knowledge in the game, plus multiple other games available on the best collectibles app in the world. So get it downloaded right now, people. Link in the description, or scan the QR code on screen now. But I am joined in the studio tonight by the brilliant KJ and the wonderful Colleen. How you both doing?
Hey.
Great, man. Great. What an evening of Champions League football. And I'm not just talking about the City-Chelsea game across the board. I think we went here screaming.
Yo, listen, all I want to say is Tabby! Tabby, man. Making that beautiful switch to Potter. Listen, Chelsea, I don't think Chelsea fans should be upset by today.
No.
It's frustrating,
yes,
granted. But considering where there was on the Tuchel, what I saw today wasn't players not trying. It wasn't players not caring. It was they were just getting used to a system. Obviously, back forward, I haven't played in a while. I know they played the other Tuchel a couple of times, but not too many times. Players with different roles. And to be fair, their build-up play looks so much better than they did on the Tuchel.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing is that they just didn't have anyone to finish. There's so many times the ball will flash across the box and that finisher wasn't there. And the one time he did land to someone, it was Ziyech. And this guy right now is just not it. So, yeah, I don't think it's a bad display from Potter's men today. It was just one of those unlucky games where nothing
what I really
happened.
rate about Potter in this game? I think maybe it was more rival fans. I'm not too sure about Chelsea fans. But a lot of rival fans were wanting for Potter to come in with a back 5, play it safe and just be like, do you know what? Slow and steady until we get to the next transfer window. It came and said, put in a back 4. Let's see what happens. And I think Chelsea played quite well considering their past performances.
Yeah.
I like the width from their forward players. I'm not talking about their fullbacks, their forward players. And I'm talking about Sterling in particular. There's definitely a lot of work that still needs to be done. And no disrespect to Salzburg, but they are still Salzburg. And I think we will touch upon the defensive units that led to the Salzburg goal. But it was never going to be a 10 out of 10 top class performance from Chelsea. But I think the signs there are encouraging. I mean, it could be new manager bounce. We could be overrating it, or it could be that Potter actually might have some good ideas to bring to Chelsea.
Yeah, and you know it's funny for Potter, very ironic. It's like he left the team because he could play good football with them, but there's never quite that guy who finishes chances.
And same problem here.
Chelsea, yeah,
Same
the exact
problem.
same thing. It's like, crap, I've just literally left one place to another. The only thing that's different is that one's got more money. But now, like, I think Graham Potter as a manager, as his first showing of Chelsea manager, it's just not something to be like frustrated by, you know what I mean? I think,
yeah. Look, again, I mean, of course, people are going to come for me because I've said I think rivals should be scared of what Chelsea are trying to build, and it's what they're trying to build that worries me as a rival. It isn't the here and the now in this moment, and it's going to take Graham Potter time. And there's some old habits that crept in today, but nobody gets it right first time. Nobody. You know, even Thomas Tuchel that won the Champions League in his first half season at Chelsea, the first game against Wolves, they didn't concede, but they weren't very potent up front. And they got better and better and better from that point. And they've changed, as you said, the formation today. They've changed the role of Raheem Sterling. He was playing far more out wide on that left-hand side, hugging the touchline and cutting in. And I think it suited him.
Yes. Yeah.
And Salzburg weren't prepared for that. They thought they were going to be more narrow. They weren't quite prepared. And on another night, there was 4 or 5 brilliant blocks in the first half. Well, they weren't even counter shots on target. So you've got to look at shots blocked as well tonight. How many of them were on target or going towards that back post for a tap-in? Chelsea will get better under Graham Potter. There's no doubt in my mind. And I think when Aubameyang and Broja find their goal-scoring form this season, I think they'll be dangerous. I really do.
But you mentioned Raheem Sterling there. This guy, we need to speak on him. This guy is so disrespected in football. So disrespected. He's Chelsea's best attacker, hands down.
Yeah.
You can see what kind of influence he can have on games. And it's not just like a new thing. He's been doing this for Man City. He was doing it for Liverpool before he left, and he does it for England. But yet, because he's not the guy who carries the team, because he's not the guy that's like always maybe the poster boy of the team in terms of getting all the goals or maybe getting all the assists, or like, I don't know what it is about Raheem Sterling. People just don't respect him in the way I believe he should do.
This might be the era where this might actually be the club manager where that might start to be the case. If the glimpses of what we saw tonight, especially in the current squad where you kind of are looking at Sterling. I don't know. We didn't see enough of Aubameyang yet to see what kind of role he will play, or Broja, whoever will be their main man. Right now, you kind of look to Sterling a little bit. And I think that's a relief, especially for someone like Reece James and like the jokes that have been going around, you know, Chelsea's best attack is their defense. So I think this is a great moment for Raheem to get that spot.
And finally become like, it's weird because even, I don't know about City fans, but like, when you think of Man City, Raheem Sterling doesn't actually necessarily become the first player you think about. Like, you've got your Agueros, your KDBs, your Yaya Torres, and obviously they're big legends who've won amazing things, but he gets overlooked. Like, during the Centurion season, he's one of their best players.
Yes.
Like, he's got back-to-back Premier Leagues, Champions League final, FA Cups, Carling Cups. Like, what more does this guy have to do to gain the respect of people? That's what I want to know, because he, for me, is on the cusp of being a Premier League legend. You can argue he already is.
He's not already there.
You know what I mean? You can argue he already is, but yet people act like he's not.
Well, but this is true. He has in the Champions League, as a Champions League player, he has now played in 76 Champions League games, and he has 48 GA. Yeah, I'm reading it here. He has 25 goals and 23 assists. When you look at just look at his goals for a minute. This guy is now level with Crespo. He's a couple of goals behind Rivaldo. He's 5 goals behind Wayne Rooney. You start going up the list here. He's only 2 goals away from matching Luis Suarez in this competition, as an example. Premier League wise, as well as we know, he's been phenomenal, both in terms of goals, assists, and consistency of performances. He is probably I would put him and Michael Carrick as the 2 most underrated and disrespected footballers of the Premier League era, because maybe it's because they weren't the star names within their squads. Maybe it's because, and Raheem, I actually put Raheem Sterling in this category. He's actually quite understated. He isn't someone that's out there big on socials. You don't see him. I know he does do advertising and everything else, but he's quite I don't want to use the word shy because I don't know him, but he comes across to me as a little bit shy and unassuming. He isn't the biggest personality in the room all the time. And I think that kind of I don't even want to use the word tarnishing him. He doesn't stand out like some other players do. Let me just say, but like from my point of view, I just feel like every time I watch him play, he looks like he's going to score. He looks like he's going to be dangerous. I just think the bar of expectation is set so high that people will look at him have a season where he's consistent, he wins trophies, he's in teams of the year, he scores and assists, one of the highest levels for a player in his position in Europe, and people still go, yeah, but he could have got more. Yeah, he didn't do what Messi did though. It's kind of weird, the levels that he gets set.
I think it's little things like the way he runs, the way he like I even said it today. He strikes the ball very like unorthodoxly. Like it's very strange how he does it sometimes, but he is effective. You know what I mean? He's effective. Like his dribbling, his pace and his dribbling are insane. He's extremely creative, and he can bag goals. Is it going to be a screamer from 30 yards every week? No. You know what I mean? Will he miss one-on-ones? Yes. You know what I mean? He most definitely will. But like we were saying with Haaland, he has that. He's been trained by Pep to have that ability to be in the position where you need him most to score those goals. His first, 2 goals for Chelsea, one of them was a deflected shot. One of them, the other one, was a tap in. But anyone else in Chelsea right now wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, and again, people will say in the comments, and I've already started to see them, stat padding, stat merchant, blah 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 blah. You know me, I don't buy into that nonsense. You're not stat padding when you're scoring that many goals in the Champions League, the volume of goals he's got in the Premier League, and you've been integral for one of the most successful teams in the history of the Premier League, when you've been a mainstay. And he wanted to move on and try something different, and he's gone to Chelsea now. This man is the way he left Man City, it's like calling Thierry Henry an Arsenal flop.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. He's gone to another massive team who are trying to rebuild and create another great Chelsea team, and he fancied a new challenge. He could have quite easily, because Pep said it, done a new deal at Man City, stayed there, picked up the Premier League, and just been part of that team for another 3, 4, 5 years. He decided, I want to try something different, and that's a very brave move, because he could have just carried on doing what he was doing. And I think he'll be a big success at Chelsea. And I said to Chelsea fans not long ago that you may never love him like Eden Hazard. He may never score 2 or 3 goals where he dribbled past 4 or 5 players that gets replayed for eternity by the Premier League, by Chelsea Football Club. But he will win you games, score goals, create goals at a higher rate over a 5-year period than Eden Hazard. And you look at the beginning of his season already. We've got the stats up on the screen. You guys can't see it, but we can. You add that to tonight's goal, that's 5 goals and assists in his opening 8 games for Chelsea. And that's in a Chelsea team that hasn't even clicked yet. Can you imagine when this Chelsea team under Graham Potter become more solidified at the back, when they're creating more and more chances, when they get 3 or 4 other players around him in good form, when they know who's actually going to be the left back behind him?
The possibilities are...
5 goals and assists in 8 games. So one of the worst performing Chelsea teams we've seen in many, many years. This guy is prolific, and prolific goal scorers, prolific creators need to have so much more respect put on their name. It's unbelievable for me that he doesn't.
No, I love that guy. Absolutely do. But there's still issues though. The way that Chelsea conceded that goal was comical.
It was from beginning to end as a defensive unit. It was awful. It was like that no one knew where anyone had to be if one player happened to get sucked in or out of position. It was like, okay, it was just panic stations. As soon as, even before they even lost the ball, when Cucurella got sucked in, it was game over from there. It was like that whole pattern of play, it was game over from there.
It's crazy because they lost the ball 3 times in that whole thing. They lost it further up the field, and then in the middle of the pitch, and then Thiago Silva at the end, where
we couldn't really believe it. And the ball almost went in the goal in slow motion because we could not believe the run of play that had just happened there. I guess, what would you say, this is something that do you think this is an old habit? Do you think this is getting used to like a back 4 again? Is this something that Potter needs to coach, or is it the players?
I think it's a combination of all those things at this point, because clearly the players had an issue with Tuchel's system and the way he coached, because they stopped running for him. It'd be interesting to see the running stats tonight. I also think there's a few players that maybe just aren't quite good enough as well, and there is that kind of mixture of things. The midfield needs to be solidified at Chelsea. There's no doubt. We had Monstar came on a few weeks ago and really kind of sort of drum that in, and it kind of changed my mind. But I didn't think their midfield was as big as an issue as it was until this year, and that's why sometimes listening to the actual fans of a football club is really important. They always delve into it a lot deeper than a rival will. But work is most definitely needed, and anyone that thought Potter would come in and they would look like peak Barcelona in one game, it's ridiculous. But equally, I'm going to call out Igal that you won't see any difference. We saw back four. We saw Raheem Sterling pushed out wider. The ball was being moved quicker. And I know that someone will look at the stats and go, they only had 13 shots or 14 shots, but that doesn't include all the block shots because they don't count as shots on target when they're blocked. And they had so many of those opportunities where that final ball or shot were blocked early. And Salzburg defending for their lives. I think they'll come good.
And no one's also talking about the biggest issue of them all is how can you have a centre back that's not over 6 foot at the back in Aspilicueta? How dare they play a centre back that size? Because I'm saying if he was 6 foot, he would block that shot.
Hill, baby, Hill.
Yeah,
Hill.
I hear you on that. I've got some super chats to go through here. First one, I've already had that one. Sorry, I didn't unstar them. Terry, that statement you made, I've already done that one as well. Sorry.
This what happens when I'm not backstage.
Yeah, but sometimes you take them off and I want to come back to them and I'm like, I've lost it. So it's my fault. Anyway. Haaland and Kamzat are made in the same lab. If you don't watch the UFC, you won't get that, but I get you. Not blaming the manager on this one. More player. Potter needs to understand quickly that there are players like Aspie, J5, and attackers that are not good enough, is what Adrian believes. Got one for you. Says, hi, Colleen. Put Colleen up before I read this one out, please. Hi, Colleen. You look stunning once again. Will you visit Amsterdam soon? Haaland is a bloody machine, and I love seeing Chelsea bottle it. So are you going to Amsterdam soon?
No.
Unless you fly her out, my brother.
Maybe.
I could be tempted.
I bet you could. Chike here says, hey, Terry, who do you think will challenge Man City for the Premier League and Champions League and why?
Arsenal.
Also, can you put the link in so I can have my say? Colleen, you look gorgeous.
Why are you giggling when I say Arsenal?
Javerne, can you share the link, please? Who do I think will challenge City for the Prem? Right now, no one's going to challenge them for the Prem. They're going to win it comfortably this season. Champions League, of course, you've got Real Madrid. You're going to have PSG. You're going to have Bayern Munich. I wouldn't write off Liverpool in the Champions League. That would be a crazy thing to do. I'd look at those teams. Barca, I don't think will be ready to win it this year, but they've definitely got competition in the Champions League as well. Chow here says, hi, Terry. It's good to be back on here doing the shows. I got back at 1 a.m. this morning after losing 2-1 to Borough and taking a 4-hour journey back.
Oi.
Big up you, match-going fan, Donny James. Tell me this because I understand why the referee goes back to give a yellow card to Salzburg player when the foul but doesn't disallow the goal. I think that if that did happen, I think it's about how much passage of play and how many phases of play happen after the foul. I think if it goes beyond 2, what they call phases of play, now don't ask me to explain what they are. You have to get the ref to do that.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it comes back to. It's a bit like
the way it doesn't change. The defensive.
It's a bit like if there's an offside and they don't put the flag up and the play goes on for like 30 seconds to a minute, they don't bring it back. It has to be directly. Mark here says, but Terry, Tony's stats are better than Gabriel Jesus's, and he wasn't nominated for the Player of the Month award. Are you talking about Sterling getting good stats? So again, I wouldn't say that Sterling's been one of the best players in the league, firstly, so far this year. But I'm saying, look at the goal return without them playing well. That's dangerous. Secondly, it's not my fault that Tony wasn't nominated, and he should have been, because I think Tony's sensational, by the way. I think Tony is brilliant. So, yeah, like you can't throw an argument at me that isn't based on my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion about Sterling. My opinion on Tony is he's brilliant and probably should have been nominated. Therefore, we agree. I mean, I didn't understand. I got what you meant, Sheriff, my friend. Was there a foul on cover before the goal? I think we've just explained that, but thank you for the super chat, my friend. As bad as we look, Terry, it was probably our second best game going forward besides Spurs. Potter has to learn that Aspie is washed. His biggest mistake was starting him over Fofana and Koulibaly. Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of a shock that both Fofana and Koulibaly didn't start today, don't you think?
Yeah, but I think he might be doing a bit of a Ten Hag and like allowing the players to basically, drop themselves instead of there being, well, he's the captain of the club, and how can you drop it?
And also, this is Potter's first Champions League game.
Yeah,
he's probably looking at, as much as I was commending him on like not sticking to a Tuchel like system. He's probably still looking for players who've got a bit of know-how there. Irrespective of how good
both
they are
those
now.
centre backs won the Champions League with Chelsea.
So he's probably looking like, do you know what? Let's just see how it goes here. But like you said, drop themselves.
Yeah.
And I think in that back line, it's only really Aspie he's doing that with. I wouldn't say he's doing that with Cucurella, because obviously not, because they work together. Definitely not with Reece James, because he's their best defender. Then their best right back, sorry. And then obviously Thiago Silva is.
You can always make a case for Thiago Silva, I feel like.
What, to drop himself?
No, as in a case for him to start.
Oh, yeah, no,
I
yeah.
feel like there's always a case there.
The only thing that's going to be next is, who does he start, Kepa or Mendy? You know what I mean? Well, that's going to be an interesting fight to see. Because Kepa didn't actually do too bad today, you know? Like,
no, I think he did well.
Considering. Weren't too bad at all. But yeah, Chelsea, I think, are going to be fine in the long run. But
you have to work with what you got. If there's limited players, there's not much that Potter can do there. Try and get the best and maximum out of them. But a limited player is a limited player.
Yeah, but you know who's a limited player, but is flipping insane? Erling Haaland, fam.
And we're going to come back to Erling Haaland a little bit later in the show. I want to go to some calls in a minute and some super chats. This comment here from Blade says, you're talking about how great Sterling is when they spent 300 million to finish in the Europa Cup and struggle in the Prem. Have I missed something? See, Blade, you know what you're doing here, my friend, and you're a long-time viewer, so I respect you, but your spending isn't about one season. This isn't the final season of The Sopranos. This isn't the final season of Better Call Saul. Football is cyclical and continues. The investments they made this summer were not just, we're going to spend £300 million to win this summer, otherwise we're going to rip the plan up and throw it all away. This isn't the last year of football. It continues. The investments they've made are for the now, the mid, and long-term future. A good 50, 60 million of what they spent, plus you could throw Fofana in this, well over 100 million of what they spent, was on young players for the future as well. Players with a 5 to 10 year span still at this football club. So I think, again, this is why when people say, oh, how can you be scared of Chelsea? I'm not scared of Chelsea this season. I don't think Chelsea this year are going to be the best team in the league. But what they're trying to build, the kind of directors of football they're looking at, the fact they want to buy, they're looking at trying to buy multiple clubs across Europe and around the world. This is how proper clubs operate in 2022. And it should make people fearful. Chelsea are literally the toothpick guy. Nothing changes. But keep hyping them up. Winless throughout 2 games with AC Milan, back-to-back games. They are in trouble. There's an element of truth there. There's no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt. But again, there's writing them off this season and there's writing Chelsea off altogether. If you score first against City, you will lose. Let City score first and you might get something. Complete madness. Also, Juve are absolute crap. Good to see.
We're saying that you have to just copy Newcastle, because didn't they like score first and
exactly. That's what he's saying. Yeah, like it's I mean, they're insane. We are going to get onto Haaland soon. We're going to take some calls now. We're going to speak to some of our callers. We're going to get David on first to have his say with us today. Just want to make sure I've got the right backdrop on so I don't put the wrong thing up. I do. David's here with us now. Chelsea won, Salzburg won. Potter's first game. What are you saying, mate?
KJ knows what state I'm in because I've got my black hoodie on. I'm in depression mode. I haven't won. I haven't won a game in about 3 weeks. I'm fuming about it. Tuchel left. My favorite manager left. That's not great. Potter came in. I'm quite happy with Potter, but the performance was a bit flat, to be honest. Like,
really?
Yeah, I wasn't that excited by anything. We played again. I don't know what you guys are talking about. We did play 3 at the back today. Like, it was quite obvious that we played 3 at the back. And
who's the third centre back?
It was Thiago Silva, Cucurella, and Azpilicueta.
No, but I saw bare times Cucurella in that second. Like,
that's just because I think we were just playing a bit. I think one of the centre backs just went forward. I think that's just what I don't know. I was really just like, I want to see some goals. I want to see us actually play well up front, and we just can't score goals. Honestly, there are 3 players I never want to see in a Chelsea shirt. It's Loftus-Cheek, it's Hakim Ziyech, and it's Conor Gallagher. They all came on, and it was just Mason Mount. I jumped off the train of killing Mason Mount. I really did, and I was on his side last year. I've gone back. I'm sorry, this guy's decision making is so bad. Our biggest thing, and what I really hope Potter can coach into these guys is making good decisions in the attacking third, because that is our biggest struggle. Because half the chances that we create in a game don't lead to shots because our players play the wrong pass, or they play the pass but at the wrong weight, or they just play like they're passing someone who's offside. I'm just thinking what's going on? What's going on? And it's been one game, so I'm not going to get on Potter, but I'm looking at some of my players going, you guys have to do better. You just do. You just have to do better. There's no excuses.
I think you're emotional, David. I think
No,
you've been
no,
starved. I think you've been starved of goals.
Bro,
Like,
KJ, Hakim Ziyech came on. Literally, I was like, he's going to cross it in. He's not going to be the first man. He's going to cross it in. He's not going to be the first man.
Ziyech was terrible when he came on.
I'm sorry. Ziyech should never play in a blue shirt again. Same, Conor Gallagher should never play in a blue shirt again.
So
never.
those three players don't play, David. Who then plays in their stead?
I was going to say,
do you know what? Bun it. But let's put in Chukwuemeka. Because at least he wants to prove something. Conor Gallagher's coming. Everyone's gassing him up. I'm the next boy on the block. I'm the new Mason Mount, and he's just dropping stinkers. He's awful.
Okay. I get Carney. I do. I get Carney. Like he looks good, but then you've got Pulisic off the bench for Ziyech instead. Does that really change much? Like, and if you don't bring on Conor Gallagher, like, literally you're back to Loftus-Cheek after Carney anyway.
Bro, Loftus-Cheek, man, like he just comes on and wins fouls, but that's it. It doesn't do anything. No end product, no nothing. Mason Mount had a free shot on goal at the end of the first half, and let me try and curl this top bins. Why?
Yeah, but David, listen, I get your frustration, right? But your manager's been there just under a week. First game that they've played, listen, and I understand that you want certain players out. Ziyech, they should have allowed him to go in the summer. That didn't happen. This is where Chelsea fans have then got to be patient, because this manager can't get rid of anybody until January. And he's still only limited to who he can and can't play, right? And I think he's going to do the right thing by he's going to have to do this. We saw in the first 3 or 4 games, and even in the match in the Europa League last week, United lost. Ten Hag doing the same thing. He's going to have to give players who will eventually leave an opportunity to prove that they're good enough. Every manager that's come in and overhauled a squad has had to play players in the first 6 months, year, 2 years even, that aren't there now during the successes that they're getting. If you look at Jurgen Klopp, look at the players he had to play in the beginning. Look at the players that Pep had to play year 1, year 2, but eventually got moved out. Like, you're going to have to give Potter time. And I get you're frustrated, but I think you're just going to have to learn to live with it for a little while longer, my old mate. Keep that black hoodie on.
I was watching the game. I was watching the game, and I was just like, do you know how much I wish I had Anthony Gordon right now? I wish, because at least he'll put it on target. Like I don't think I'm starved on target shots. If the keeper makes a basic save, I'll be happy, because at least we're shooting at the goal. All my shots are going up here, up this way. Nothing on target. There's no threat. There's no nothing.
You need to put him out his misery. Let him rest, bro, because his head is gone.
David, listen, me old mate. We'll speak to you again soon. Take care. Do you know what I think David's suffering with tonight? Is almost like when you get that new manager, you're waiting for that bounce. They come out, they score 3 goals, and you can just go, oh, you know how United felt. We obviously lost us in 2 games. Obviously, it felt much worse than David did. But then when we beat Liverpool, it wasn't just beating Liverpool. It was like a good performance. We worked hard. It felt like a year of pain kind of cleansed for one night. And I that's why I know where he feels that way. It's like, oh, what was the point of sacking the manager? It's all the same.
He wants the Ollie 5-1 against Cardiff. Yeah. That's what he wants.
No, exactly. Chelsea players saving themselves for the All-Star game. We are actually going to do some proper content over the. I know everyone's doing it today, picking their teams. We're actually do a proper debate on that and pick some teams. We were actually working it out in the car on the way home yesterday. Very good. So we're going to make some content over the international break on that and make it a little bit fun. We're going to get Patrick on very, very soon, who is of course, is a City fan. But I did want to start by asking you all. Haaland's pretty good, isn't he?
He's a freak.
I mean, if you weren't worried before, you better be now. I mean, the role that he now has at City in comparison to Dortmund, we kind of touched on it before we went live, is that he doesn't need to do all of that dog work at all. He knows a decent cross coming in for him or a decent through ball or something like that. And then the freak of nature that is Haaland. I think this is the debate that we touched on at the beginning of the show around tap-in merch and things like that. Okay, he's that close to the goal, but name me any other, barring what, 1 or 2 strikers, who can pull that off?
Like, I don't know. Like, literally, this guy's not real. He's not real. I'm convinced it's Android 16 from Dragon Ball Z. Like, only way that we can beat this guy is if Goku and the man them come through. Like, that's the only way, because like, how are we defeating this? It makes no damn sense. You know what Pep's done? He's created a machine that creates chances in the Man City team, and he's bought another machine, like on top of that, is to finish the chances. It's basically a Megazord. It's insane right now. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just blown away like how well this guy's adapted. And I'll sit here, hand up and say, I was one of those people that thought, okay, Pep tax. Not because Haaland's rubbish, but Pep does this thing where it takes a year for someone to come in and bed in and become their best self under Pep. I thought, you know what, many players have gone through this process, so why not Haaland? You know what I mean? Haaland's just insane. Like, Haaland's just different. Like, and again, like I said, he doesn't have to be sprinting around. He's got burners. He doesn't have to be doing it. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be finding the ball, seeking the ball on the left wing or right wing. Just all he has to do is stick him in the middle. KDB, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Rodri, and Cancelo.
His first shot on target of the night and goal.
Goal. Literally, it's
very
unfair.
clutch-like.
It's actually unfair. I think we should do a Top B and think about getting like a salary cap or like a cap to stop this guy from being in the league.
Mate,
what is this?
This is what's crazy about it. If he replaced Raheem Sterling, let's just say not like for like, Raheem Sterling played 47 games for Man City last year. If Haaland plays 47 games this year and keeps scoring at this rate, he scores 65 goals in the season.
That's insane. If
he ends up playing, I was just looking at the way it works. If he ends up playing more than that, say like 55 games, that's 77 goals. If he ends up playing even more, I don't even know what the maximum amount they could play. If he played in this guy is tracking towards scoring more goals in a single season by about 20 to 30 goals compared to any other Premier League-based striker ever. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So when people say Haaland is just a tap-in merchant, it's nonsense, because if tapping in was that simplistic and easy, why has nobody else ever started off their Premier League career this good? Why has nobody else in the history of the Champions League started off scoring like this? And why has he been able to do it at Molde, Salzburg, Germany, England, the hardest league in the world, and consistently in the Champions League at 3 of those teams? He was doing it at Salzburg in the Champions League, then at Dortmund, and now at City. One of the most natural goal scorers in the history of football, the best young finisher football has had since R9, and I think he's only going to get better. And I don't think he's going to get the injuries at City this year, because he isn't having to run around like he was at Dortmund. There's a whole team behind him doing that work, and he is there to be efficient and put that ball in the back of the net. And I said he was going to break Mo Salah's record, and I absolutely stand by that 110%. But I think he's not just going to break Mo Salah's goal scoring record in the Prem. I think he could. I am saying this now. I think he's scoring over 50 goals in all comps this year. He's going to score over 50 goals.
You can't, like, he's on, was he on 13?
13 in 9 games.
13 in. Bro, it's done. It's done. And I want to talk about that goal just in isolation so people understand how good that goal is. I'll talk about Cancelo in a second because I want to chat about that, brother. But the ball comes in. Granted, he's on the right-hand side. He is left-footed. Most players, for one, can't even jump that high to even get their foot to the ball. They either go for a header or a weird bicycle kick and miss. But he gets up that high, and instead of using his right foot like most players would try, he goes outside of the boot, left-footed shot. Like, that in his entirety,
that athleticism
is crazy hard to do. And anyone who's played football at any level, you see that goal and you're just like it's not normal to do that. And another thing is, he basically did the same thing against, who did he get the hat trick against recently? It wasn't was it Forest? You got one against
One
Forest.
against Forest,
What's the one
and-
before that?
You test him or not? You test him
He
enough. But yeah, go on, carry on.
Basically recreated that goal from the left, like he did that on the left-hand side as well. So it's not like it was a fluke. You know, some players do one action and it's the greatest goal they ever scored in their life.
Yeah.
This is not a fluke. This is him. Like he knows
doing it,
how to score these goals. And yeah, this guy is crazy. But on the delivery, the delivery, João Cancelo.
Forest and Palace. He got the hat tricks against.
João Cancelo is the best fullback in the world.
I mean, it was voted on this very show a few months ago, back when, you know, the Trent Brigade was still there. Back when you still had, you know, James Hype Train. Cancelo. I don't think he gets talked about enough.
No, he doesn't. I know because he plays for City. I know what it is.
And he's not English. So what you have, no, but I mean it from, again, Premier League debates, because Trent and James are both English. There is the best in the Prem, but who should play for England? The narrative around it is far more compelling and clickable. The stories on it are clickable because people really care. If Cancelo was English, there'd be much more conversation because there'd be a national interest in it as well. But he's out of this world. The reason why I think he's better than both is he can play left or right. It's one of the reasons why the most disrespected fullback, who I still think I actually put him above any other Man United fullback in the history of the Premier League, is Dennis Irwin, because he was looked at as a world-class left back his whole career, and people forget that he was right-footed and a right back, but he played there because Gary, like that way you could have him and Gary Neville both in the team. Like, as great as Ashley Cole was, if you played Ashley Cole at right back for 10 years, would he have been as good? Maybe not, but he didn't, you know, that shows how good he was. And Cancelo can do that. He's good in both positions. He can defend. He can cross the ball. He's out of this world. I just want to go back to the Haaland thing for a second, because I just looked at the stats while you guys were talking.
Yeah.
Messi's best, so someone was like, oh, but Messi got 80-something goals in the calendar year. He did. I said in a season, I was talking Premier League only. Messi's greatest goal-scoring season, he scored 73 goals in 60 games, okay? But if you break that down, and if Haaland at this rate plays 60 games, he's going to score, and I want to make sure I get this right, Haaland will score 84. So if Haaland keeps scoring like this and plays 60 games, he will score 11 more goals than Messi's greatest ever goal-scoring season. And I actually, do you know why I want... Listen, the Man United fan in me doesn't want Haaland to do this because it means City could win everything if you score that many goals. But the football fan in me and the content creator in me wants to see him do it, just to see what people that doubt him now say, just to see the rhetoric. If he was to score more goals in a single season than any other football player in the post-war history, there is a serious conversation about this guy that needs to be had. Now, of course, he has to do it from not maybe that level, but he has to keep scoring and he has to win major trophies. And by the way, if he scores 84 goals a season in all comps, he's winning some major trophies. There's no doubt about it. But that just shows, and I'm not saying he's going to maintain it, but it just goes to show 13 in 9 games is not to be scoffed at. It's something we've never seen on these shores ever from a 22-year-old. Never. We ain't seen this before. This is unprecedented in our times. He's that good a finisher and that good a striker. He just needs to be applauded. I don't care whether you think Mbappe's better, Mbappe's amazing, but you just need to look at Haaland and go, you should just be privileged to know that you're going to get to watch this guy for the next 10 years. Yeah. This is a gift from the gods. It is a gift from the gods. It's a footballing gift from the gods. It really is. We're going to speak to a City fan now. Patrick is joining us on the line. Make sure, viewers, you're smashing like buttons and you're scanning that QR code or using the link to download Topps Kick 23 right now. The games are all coming. The new Champions League cards are on their way. You need to get it downloaded even now at the end of the show. And by the way, you can now come out of, if you're watching on your phone or an iPad or something, or an Android, you can now come out of YouTube and it stays open. I don't know if you guys have realized that. You know that for ages, if you close YouTube, it just shut. It now stays open on your screen. So you can get it downloaded and still listen to my dulcet tones. Patrick's here with me now. What you saying, Patty? Big City fan. Talk to me.
Oh, how you doing, Terry?
Good. What you saying, my friend?
Look. For me, and unfortunately, I'm not excited about that match, and I'm gonna speak slow so some of the City fans who just yap for nothing can hear me properly. So we had a space at halftime, and a lot of City fans were not happy. Terry, this is the Champions League, right? And everybody banters us for the fact that we fell in this Champions League. But if you fail all the time and even your fans are able to see the mistakes and the reason why you don't succeed, it comes at a point where you sit there and say, you know what? I'm not a coach. I don't have a badge. I've never done coaching. I played football, got injured, stopped playing. I can still see certain issues and we still do them. Is it because you want to make the players happy? Is it because we've got these fancy players? What I'm talking about is, can you guess? As soon as we saw that lineup, every City fan said this is going to be a ball fest and we're going to fail to score. Guess what? No shot on goal the whole first half. Yes, some City fans are calling us spoiled on the space. They came in, the old heads were like, you guys are spoiled, you're the new generation. But you know what? F that, because first of all, you know yourself that regardless the fact is, if even a 15-year-old City fan says that lineup, we're going to fail to do it because we don't have natural fullbacks, why do we insist on playing Jack Grealish and Mahrez? Why we know all they do is cut in, right? That's all they do. They'll cut in. What do you need when you cut in? You need natural fullbacks to go overlap. Guess what? He decides to say, John Stones, you just came from being injured. You play in as a right back, and I'll play Mahrez. Look, I have no problem with John Stones, but I have seen him play with Raheem. Raheem is more direct and wasn't cutting in. Raheem at the right. It makes sense. This is the reason why I'm saying it, Terry. If some of these small things we continue, and me as a City fan and other City fans see it before we even kick the ball, the same thing as Aston Villa, we pointed a few things already before the game happened and it was a draw. Yes, we won. So what? So you think you're going to continue doing this in the Champions League, saying, oh, I can put this line up. If it fails, I'll bring this. Because everybody said, as soon as you put Alvarez and Foden on that pitch against a back five that's packing the bus like this, there's going to be movement and they're going to be faster, more direct. Guess what? Within a few minutes, we scored the goal. Yes, John Stones, I don't really care. People are like, Stones scored. But no, he wasn't supposed to be playing right back. I don't care if he scored. So that's my issue, because let's not forget, if we get to the higher stages, right? Guess what happens all the time? Every year, some of us have been preaching this. Pep, when he goes to the Champions League, in certain games, he wants to play this, oh, let me take control, so let me just play it safe. Guess what we do? Teams just sit there, like the same as Madrid. They just sat there and watched us and said, keep passing the ball around yourselves, and boom, they score. So I'm not satisfied, because I think a better team than Dortmund was going to hold on to that 1-0. And in the future, we are just going to continue the same thing where we get bunted. But I know some people get satisfied, and I get it. You get satisfied. Unfortunately, some of us are not 50, 40 years old, like some of you are 60 or 80. So we never saw City during those times. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I thank you out of respect. But you can't blame an 18-year-old if they come in and get irritated, because that's what they have seen. So that's what I wanted to say for today.
Yeah, Patrick, don't you think it's also a good sign that even though you see these holes, your team's still able to overcome, your team's still able to get the win? And I've seen Pep and City destroy the group stage 4-0, 5-0 there, 6-2 there. Like, I've seen them do, but it doesn't account to nothing. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. I think this might be just one game where you guys just got what you needed to get done, and you just build from that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, Patrick, if you guys did this all the way to the Champions League final and won it, will you care? Because that's what Madrid basically did.
Yeah,
they weren't great.
But that's the thing about City. There's a difference between Madrid and City, and people just say, "Oh, there's a spoiled fan." No. Some of us, I like watching tactical stuff. I like watching tactical videos, watching everything. Is about City is they'll pass you to death. They'll just continue passing you. And if you're a team that can keep your concentration for so long, guess what's going to happen? There will be no shot on goal. And they will start their crossing, spamming, as people used to call. Yes, now there's Haaland. Maybe that's a difference. But that's what I'm saying. There's certain teams that are more disciplined. They'll stay till the end. And what's going to happen? It's just a 0-0. Oh, there goes City again. I get where you're coming from, but I have seen this before. I have seen us struggle before. We struggled against Sporting and Leipzig, and we're like, oh my God, it's tough. We struggled against Atletico Madrid. We're like, oh, these are the battle scars we need. But trust me, some of the lineups, as a City fan,
do you know what I'm going to say, Patty? I think, Patty, you break football down very well, and I get where you're coming from. But to me, as a starving, hungry Man United fan, it's like you're a millionaire in a beautiful country club eating lobster and crab, but you're moaning because your sparkling water didn't have enough ice in it. That's how it feels to me. Like, this is ruined. My life is ruined.
No.
It's like, I know. But you guys are still good. Patrick.
Terry, I knew
No,
you were
I
going
just
to do
sort
that.
of sit there and I'm like, I still thought you looked pretty good tonight.
No,
You're not gonna blow every team away.
But when I was looking at
pretty...
your face, I could see the starvation through going. I was like, it's gonna.
Mate, I'm hungry, bro. I started a diet this week as well, my friend. I'm ravenous. Listen, Patty, we'll speak again soon, mate. You take care, bro. Thank you very much indeed.
You know what? I do understand him. I do understand him. Man City weren't at their best, but I think for as rival fans, as neutrals, you can see Man City being poor, but then when you've got the Haaland factor and the KDBs, and you just kind of sit there like it doesn't actually matter.
But it's like a first world problem issue. Yeah. So it's one of those things that we moan about things. We all live in the UK. We all moan about things that hundreds of people, millions of people in hundreds of other countries would love that to be the only thing they've got to moan about today. Does that make sense? Like people are like, we're the kind of people that, oh my God, the escalator stopped working. Like we'll go to work and moan about that. That's the Man City fans right now. It's like you're moaning after buying Haaland. Like you won 4 PLs in 5 years.
Potential inevitability.
But I think we've forgotten. As Arsenal fans, when you were at your pomp, you were like that. As Man United fans on the Fergie, we were probably doing that, but we forgot because times have become so
and we've
hard.
actually won the Champions League.
Absolutely.
Not when Arsenal.
No, not you. I wanted.
I'm just saying facts. I'm not saying facts.
I wanted to come back. I wanted to come back to Chelsea because they lost their first game. They've drawn their second. They're on 2 points right now. They now have back-to-back games against the hardest team in the group, AC Milan. They're at home next. Do you think Chelsea are in a little bit of trouble here? And what do they need out of those next 2 games to put themselves back into a secure position? What are you saying? What are you saying, Colleen?
It's difficult. As much as we were praising Chelsea and Potter, it's more because of where they've come from and seeing the slight improvements since the beginning of the season under Tuchel. With Potter, I don't want to overstate this. I don't know if I'm overstating it, but this is Potter's first campaign in the Champions League. Away and at home to AC Milan, a very, very good AC Milan. This is not the fallen, sleeping giant AC Milan. This is an AC Milan that knows how to win. And it will take Potter a lot of tactical finesse in terms of the players that he has, because we've already talked about, okay, we're seeing a bit of tweaking and how he can get the best out of Sterling, but it's about those limited plays that we've kind of touched upon, whether he's going to drop Aspi and potentially if you want to bring Mount into this and whatnot, can he get them in a system that will maybe not necessarily be the whole philosophy all the way through, but to get them to win those games? Because as a Chelsea fan, you don't want to drop to the Europa League. You want to, if we're being realistic.
To be fair, every time they've been in Europa League, they have won it. So, like,
I mean, yes, but you want to, dream of winning the Champions League again, of course. Yeah. So, I think a lot of it rests on what Potter can do with these players. Yeah. And it sounds very simple for me to say it like that. But it really does.
To be fair, there is a chance, so AC Milan have drawn. They did draw their first game against Salzburg. That was away, so there's that factor as well. But it's not like a barnstorming AC Milan side that is like,
it's
look
not
at them.
impossible.
Like it's possible. You know what I mean? It's possible. And I'm not going to sit here saying I'm the biggest expert of AC Milan. From what I've seen, I really like what they do, especially with some of their players like Rafael Leao and Tomori, especially Tomori. I love Tomori as well. Teo Hernandez, like amazing player. Like, so it will be a tough challenge, but to completely write Chelsea off to say like, it's
gonna
I think the first game, their first match against AC Milan is at home. They have to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have to look at what happens between Salzburg and Zagreb. If one of those two teams win both those matches and Chelsea don't win either of their games against AC Milan, I think they go out.
Yeah.
I think they go. And that's why they've got to beat AC Milan at Stamford Bridge and at the very least get a draw away from home. And even then, they've got to hope that one of the other teams around them, so one of the other teams above them in Salzburg or Zagreb, doesn't win those games back to back, because AC Milan are then likely to win their last 2 games after that because they're so much stronger. So Chelsea have to beat AC Milan in the next game. If they do that, I think they can kind of relax until they go away. but they have to get a result in that now as well. They can't afford, in my opinion, if they go into the last 2 games on 4 points and you have a situation where Zagreb, for instance, are on 9 points and Milan are then suddenly sitting there on, say, 7, 8, 9 points, and 7 or 8 points themselves. They can't be on 8 points. They're either going to be on, let's say they're on 7 points, and they're suddenly it becomes almost impossible from that point. Chelsea's Champions League campaign is in real danger right now. And the worry they're going, what you can say?
I'm about to say it's in real danger right now. But if you're Chelsea, and do you take dropping out of the competition completely in 4th, or do you take the Europa League in 3rd?
It's hard because you might end up. I reckon you try and you get as high as you can and go into the Europa League if possible, because from Potter's point of view, the more games the better. You know, there's always a chance that Chelsea could win that, as you've already alluded to. I think the problem is this: though, there were boos tonight.
Yes.
At Stamford Bridge, there were boos tonight at Stamford Bridge, and I don't think that was directly towards Graham Potter, but there were boos towards the team tonight. The problem is for some Chelsea fans, and I don't know what the match-going fans are saying yet. There's often, and the reason I say that's important is because they're the boos and the noises that Potter will definitely hear. Where he may or may not use social media. If you don't use social media, he doesn't care what people on social media are saying, right? But there will be some, if they drop out the Champions League, you are going to get a percentage. It might be 20, 30, 40, who knows? It could be 50% of Chelsea fans that will say, because there's a lot of Chelsea fans out there that they think he'll be gone by January. So if he falls out the Champions League, the pressure on Graham Potter is going to increase. Some Chelsea fans are not bought in to the idea of giving him 5 years and letting him see that through. They are still in the Roman mindset of, if you fail, you go. You bring somebody else better into the football club. Yep. So as I say, they have to beat AC Milan in their next game, and he has to stay in the Champions League, because the last thing Graham Potter needs right now is a very noisy percentage of this Chelsea fan base turning on him, and I think they will. A percentage of them will turn on him quickly.
But well, this is where I'll look at them and be like, look at them sideways, because it's kind of like this is what I mean. Like, this is not Roman, it's Bowley. You know what I mean? This is a Tad B. You know what I mean? He has found his guy. but he's found his guy, and I one of the reasons why I think like they need to literally just relax for like 2 seconds, even if they get knocked out of the Champions League, they need to relax for 2 seconds, is because he ain't going though. I don't believe he's going there. This whole sack by January is foolishness. When Todd, like literally, you can only go by Bowley's like example of a sports team.
Yeah.
When he's found his guy at the Dodgers, he's there. It's been there for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
And from reports, from where that's what we can go off. This is his guy. This is the guy. Like, I've looked at it all while I was buying the club. Look at all the managers I could get. This is the one I want.
Yeah, so he must. You know, when you're picking a manager to replace Tuchel, someone who's won the Champions League, okay, take form and how it's been outside of it. He's picking a decent manager in the Premier League, but it's unproven in Europe, right? So this comes into his thinking. I wouldn't think for 1 second that Todd's not thought there's a real possibility that we don't go forward in the Champions League. Yeah. Will I give Potter that grace? Because I'm seeing his vision. He kept talking about how Tuchel didn't see his vision. Do I think Potter sees my vision, even if in the short term it's not good?
Yeah, like you don't the swiftness of the way that he got Potter in, the fact that he paid almost 6 million. Like, how much did they pay for his buy his contract and his staff to get all of them?
I think that including Tuchel compensation, it was around £20 million all in. £20 million, and then start talking to Paul Mitchell, Luis Campos, the sporting director at RB Salzburg. You don't talk to these guys if you're like, I'm just going to sack him in January. You know what I mean? Like, so Chelsea fans need to look at the bigger picture. It don't look nice now, but Todd B has a plan. You know what I mean? He has
That's not to say that if they finish like 10th.
No, but the thing is, though, Cage, I agree with you. I completely agree with you, and I think you're right. They have to give him time. This will be if it goes wrong and this loud, it may even be a minority, but we know how noisy a minority of a fan base, of a football fan base can be. If they become noisy, if they become despondent, then we really get to see how dedicated to the plan Todd Bowley is. And Chelsea fans might find in adapting to a brand new style, in the very short term, things go backwards before they go forward. You know, sometimes you have to, you know, completely empty the glass and start again afresh. And maybe that's what's going to happen. But I do think that AC Milan game, you know, if they want to stay in the Champions League, let's even forget the manager losing his job.
Yeah.
To stay in the Champions League, I think if they fail to beat AC Milan at home, my prediction is Chelsea go out of the Champions League. But viewers, what do you think Chelsea have to do in their next game? I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. We have a member chat here from Deshane that says, love the terrace. Cheers to Terry, Egal, Pastor KJ, Jess Neeks and everyone. Arsenal for top 4 and Europa League. Come on, you Gooners.
Ooh.
That's 14 months as a first team member. Thank you very, very much, my friend. By the way, if we do hit on the stream 1,000 likes, we will gift out some free memberships to you. You haven't really been pushing that as much recently, but that's always the case on shows. Some more super chats here. Haaland is a freak, Terry. I'll bet you.
So he gets 50.
Does he get? He does get 50. I'll take the bet. I'm not. Listen, I'll take the bet. Let's have a little wager. I'm going to bet now, and he's got to stay fit, so he's got to play at least 50 games. Because if he gets injured tomorrow, the bet's off. 50 appearances in all comps, he'll score 50 goals this year. A little £100 bet to charity if it goes the other way. Happy to do that. Talk about Grealish, biggest flop in history. We'll come back to that in a minute because we've got other super chats. We can't do long chats. We've got to go. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that one in a second. Terry, am I going to watch Canelo and Triple G? Yes, I'm going for a Canelo win. I think Triple G's past his best now. Congrats, Terry. Hair looking fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's getting there. Shedding a bit at the minute. It's 13 goals in 8 games, not 9. My friend, he played in the Community Shield. No. Well,
I'm not laughing at that.
and it counts because if he scored in that, you'd be counting his goals. So it counts as an official match. It isn't actually a friendly. It's considered a fully professional game. So it's been that. But I've got to count that because if he scored in it, we wouldn't discount the goal, would we? Lep Fraudiola needs Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta. Jose over Pep. Maybe. We'll see this year. We'll see. Where was his mindset when giving him time when he sacked Tuchel?
Tuchel's not his
But
manager.
Victor's my guy. You remember, you must have tuned in. He sacked Tuchel because they weren't agreeing on the direction the club was going in. So it wasn't he didn't have a lack of patience in Tuchel's results. His lack of patience was Tuchel and him didn't agree with the direction the club was going in. It's just such a different thing, my friend.
Yeah, the breakdown of their relationship is documented now, and it's like you said, you listen to it, and rightly or wrongly, whoever side you're on, you can't work in that environment.
Yeah.
The man didn't
You
talk.
always work under a collective.
Yeah.
If you're not talking with your head coach as the new owner,
Especially so early on. Now, of course,
just not
Yeah,
it's
without a doubt. Back to this question, though. Talk about Grealish being the biggest flop in history. Look, I think Lukaku had that title because it was nearly 100 million and the relationship, the way he behaved. But Jack Grealish we're now 9 games into his second season. He's got the most prolific goal scorer that City have ever had, pound for pound, 9 games in. So he's got an absolute machine to pass to. He's got the best system in English football around him. The best manager in the country supporting him. He looks again, he passes the eye test every game. His little feet rolling over the ball, little touches there, little passes, little flick of the foot. It looks good. But Jack Grealish, for me, watching the game, does almost nothing in every single match I watch him in. And my original prediction for him is coming true. I think a free spirit like him is wasted in such a regimented system under Pep Guardiola. He needs to be given license to roam free and kind of do what he wants. But Pep Guardiola does not allow that.
Yeah, exactly. I think the reason it's that part of it is because we've seen what Jack can do. We've seen the price tag, and then we've seen like the GA return. And unfortunately, in a Pep system, unless in this case you're Haaland, rare case over Pep's tenure, unless you're one of these superstar players, you're molded to fit the team as you're playing for the greater good of the collective. So as much as, Grealish plays, in my opinion, he seems much better in that kind of free-spirited role that Terry talked about. He's much more expressive. It's kind of the football that we want to see, that kind of exciting football.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen in a Pep team. I just don't see where that comes into it. Now, could he be more involved and be not necessarily a De Bruyne, but have that kind of, impact on a game, yes, I think he could still do that in those kind of systems, but he's not going to be the same Jack from Aston Villa. And that's your original club, KJ. So
don't do
give
me
us
like
some
that.
thoughts on what you think. With that thick Brummy accent.
Don't do me like that.
Come
My
talk about
Brummy
Jackie.
accent is not that thick. Thank you very much. But nah, I hate this conversation because I love it. I love Jack Grealish, like I honestly do. Obviously, one of my guys, and that, you know what I'm saying? My Brummy bro. You know what I mean? My Brummy bro. He is not adapting as well as I thought. He is technically a very, very good footballer. No one can deny that. But his second season in the Pep, you can't even say Pep tax now. You know what I mean? And towards the ends of last season, you start to see glimpses of, potentially this could be the Jack Grealish we've been waiting to see at Man City. Like he even said in an interview, I've started to understand of what Pep wants of me. But now we're back to square one. And it's like, what does he go from here? And he's not a system player. It sounds weird because every player is a system player. But like he's a player you build around. And when you've got a manager like Pep, who don't care who you are, you fit in or you don't. He needs, it's not even like a big fish in a small pond kind of thing. I don't think it's the pressure of playing for Man City that's hindering him. I genuinely just think he does not necessarily suit what.
So if you're Pep, because you've obviously seen Pep's not an idiot. Obviously, he's seen him at Aston Villa, and he's seen how I can fit him into my system, and we've already seen it was never going to be like for like. If you're Pep and you're seeing that kind of expressive Grealish, and I know you're not Pep, but give me your kind of thoughts on how do you put him in a Pep system in Man City and get the best out of him, and what is the best out of him in this system?
Right now would be back up to Kevin De Bruyne. Like that's the only place I could really see him working. Where is in you got two midfielders beside him who can keep the ball and do the hard work for you. You are able to roam around, and again, it's not like he can't cross either. It's obviously not good as Kevin De Bruyne crossing, but you can go to find those half spaces in the final third and put those crosses in, put those balls through. You can then roam centrally. You can roam to the left as well. That's the only place I can see him. But then your competition is Kevin De Bruyne, and I'm sorry. Kevin De Bruyne right now is indispensable. Like you don't replace him for no one. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the position that Jack's in. Is either you adapt on the left-hand side or you become backup to someone else.
Absolutely. But the thing is, people keep saying you can't judge him on goals or assists, but you absolutely can. Okay. So we already know I haven't even looked at Raheem Sterling's performances when he was at City on that left-hand side. He was a consistent performer, a consistent game winner, and a consistent creator. The best attackers, and that's what Grealish is, an attacker, in the history of the Premier League, the best attackers in the history of football, whether they pass your eye test or not, scored goals or created goals or did both. People always go, no one cared about Ronaldinho's stats. Well, that's because we all knew he was scoring and creating goals. And
stats are very insane.
They are, and the people that you say we never cared about their stats, that's just because they were not readily available on websites and on apps when those people were in their pomps. But we saw them doing it. I know Jack Grealish isn't creating and scoring goals because I can see he's not creating and scoring it. The only reason that it's more protruded now is because you look at it and go, oh my God, he's been at the club. He's played 45 games for the club and he's created and scored 10 goals. When you then start to look at other people, it's not all about stats. Players don't get massive stats. KDB in 316 games, 87 goals, 127 assists. Bernardo Silva in 260 games, 50 goals, 53 assists. Phil Foden in the early stage of his career, 178 games, and a lot of those have been late substitutes as well. He's only actually played around 10,000 minutes so far, 47 goals and 35 assists. So when you start looking at these players, their numbers are all in and around the 45 to 50% plus margin for games they've played, and actually in the 60-70% margin in terms of minutes played. Jack Grealish is sitting there at between 15 and 20%. So his outputs against other attacking players in his team, he's producing somewhere between 50 to 80% less goals is in terms of creating them and scoring them than everybody else playing in those attacking roles for Man City. So this isn't a system issue. This is a Jack Grealish issue. Every other attacking player in that team is scoring and assisting and creating. He isn't. Jack Grealish is getting a pop. People say, oh, he's involved in the build-up and involved in this. So are all of them. They're all involved in the build-up. They're all involved in the creativity, but they're also scoring and assisting. He just so far hasn't been good enough. And I just think, and I always felt, he doesn't suit a regimented system. I think he needs the freedom of the park, like he had at Aston Villa, to be able to be his very best. Because right now, he's the biggest flop in football ever. £100 million, and he's created and scored 10 goals in over a year. That's shocking.
No, it's
shocking.
I love Jack, but when you think about upstairs, you know what I mean? I think Pep might be overloading him a bit too much.
Lights are on, but no one's home.
Yeah, not necessarily that directly, but like he's overthinking what he has to do. I think at Man City.
So what does Pep do in this
Pep
situation?
Pep drop him.
You
Like,
think Pep will?
yeah, you know what I mean. He's shown that he will. Like he don't really care about price tag. If you're not playing well for Pep, you're not playing well for Pep. There's only very few players you can say he played for. He dropped Aguero when he came. He don't care.
Yeah,
so,
but by the way, Mahrez, 197 games for City, 63 goals, 46 assists. Another player on like a 50% goal contributions to game ratio. And again, they rotate a lot. This is what people say, oh, well, he can't help it. He rotated a lot. Then why is everybody else, why are all the other attackers scoring and assisting and he isn't?
Yeah, even Alvarez like looks so much better in this team than him. And you see, I'm trying to find.
No, just stop protecting him because he's from Birmingham.
No. Listen. I really like Jack. He's just not fitting into Man City. And I feel like if he was in, maybe when he was linked to United, when Ollie was there, that might have been a move for him. Maybe when he was when Chelsea was looking for a wide creator, he could have been that guy. Man City is just not good enough.
No, that's just simple. So I to the original super chat, for me, he is so far the biggest flop in English football history because of the price tag and the fact that this isn't like Arsenal buying Pepe for too much money when Arsenal were going through the biggest transition and poor period of their Premier League history, with a fledgling, with a the team being taken over by a fresh, wet behind the ears manager who's trying to rebuild a culture and a fallen giant. That's a bad signing for Arsenal, even though it wasn't Arteta's signing. But this is a world record signing, a highly gifted player on the eye test and ability, who was scoring and assisting in his previous team, playing for the best manager in the world at the best run club in England with unlimited funds with a world-class squad around him. There's no reason for Jack Grealish. There isn't an outside of there's no reason outside of football for Jack Grealish to not be successful. And the fact that for me, I just find he looks awful. But where he gets a pass, one, he's got them beautiful calves. That's true. He's got them beautiful calves. But where he gets a pass is that he passes the eye test. He's one of those players. He looks good doing nothing. He looks good being poor because he passes the eye test. And that's my one issue with the eye test. It can mask over terrible performances. When a player like a Bruno Fernandes looks bad, it's so noticeable. It stands out. You see it a million miles away. But when Jack Grealish is losing the ball, when Jack Grealish he doesn't even lose the ball. What he does in the City team is it's cowardly. What he'll do at times, he'll be in a position where he can't do much, and he'll just take the easy, simple pass back. Now, some will say, oh, he's just maintaining possession for the team. That's why he isn't creating the level of chances that a KDB does. KDB will take those risks in and around the box. He'll try that through ball. He'll try that beautiful cross to the back post that 3 times on the bounce may not come off. So he might lose the ball 19, 20, 25 times in a game. But that 4th attempt, he finds Haaland and the team win a match. Jack Grealish doesn't do that. Doesn't do it.
What would you be saying if he was doing that and still not successful?
Well, if he was doing it, then you've got to look at the execution. So if he's trying those passes and he's overhitting the ball, that's one thing. KDBs aren't so much overhit all the time. It's the attacker doesn't make the right run or there was good defending. But I believe if he was doing that and playing those percentage balls more regularly, now it depends on the player you are. When Trent plays those passes, it's because he's a world-class crosser. When KDB makes those passes, it's because he's a supreme creator. When Bruno Fernandes makes those passes, they're hero balls and he's hitting and hoping. Jack Grealish has enough respect in the game because he passes the eye test where people would look at it as him trying to be creative, if that makes sense. So I think people would, I would, just from my opinion, I would rate it more because he's taking a risk with the ball to create. Now, Pep Guardiola said it before. My system is built to get the ball to the edge of the box. When the ball's at the edge of the box, it's down to the players to use their individual qualities to open that team up. But he doesn't. He'll get the ball to the edge of the box. If he can't dribble past the man, he'll do a little foot roll, a little pirouette, and then pass the ball back to somebody else. He doesn't take the risk. So people go, oh, look, Jack Grealish only loses the ball on average 8 times per game. Yeah, but he ain't fucking creating. So what good is it? What good is it? It's, for me, he's been a massive flop. And I think if he doesn't pick up his numbers, and people go, oh, stats don't mean everything. They do to Pep Guardiola because goals win you games.
They do to Jack Grealish in an interview. He said, what does he wants to be scoring, he wants to be assistant. So by his own metric that he measures himself with, he's also flopping. So yeah, I can't.
Talk to your Brummy brother.
I'll give him a call.
Give him a buzz.
Yeah,
give him a buzz. Listen, still love the calf though. Calf look good.
Talking about another Brummy though. Oi, man like Jude. Oi, Jude Bellingham. I love this kid, you know. Like that was a beautiful well-taken goal.
Yeah, I was supposed to just quickly just check with Jack. As you can see, Jack Grealish on average is losing the ball 8.5 times per game. We're just looking at the stat up here. Yeah. When you look at KDB's, it's about 25 times per game. The point is this: that's why the loss of possession stat needs to be studied more. KDB loses the ball nearly 3 times as much as Jack Grealish per game, but the level of assists and goals that he scores. They make Jack Grealish's performances pale into insignificance. What if every player in that City team kept the ball like Jack Grealish? They wouldn't score or create. They wouldn't win the games. They'd be losing. So Jack Grealish, start passing the ball a little bit more, take a few more risks, my friend, and maybe you live up to the price tag. But yeah, Jude Bellingham got that goal. I need him to lead. I watched him tonight, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, I saw what Leah said the other day about, does he really move the needle for a team? Is he really like that final piece of the jigsaw? And I think Leah's is right to a degree. I don't think if you put him into this Man United team as we are now, we become title winners. Yeah. But I think he's a player that could grow into such an influential player. But I looked at that Dortmund team around him when he, and it's again, I only really watch Dortmund's Champions League games when they're knockout stages or they're against the bigger teams because there's too much going on in the group stages to watch him. He needs to be surrounded by better players. You stick him in that City midfield, I think he can boss it.
Yeah.
He just needs better quality around him. So literally stick him in the midfield next to Casemiro and Bruno. He'll boss it.
This is his last season at Dortmund.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yes, you can't. Dortmund right now, and has been for a long time, the club you go to develop and leave. Like, and they probably know that. That's why they've got the ridiculous clauses in there. That's why they got their sell-on percentage. That's why their club is so tough on negotiating. It's because they know they're gonna leave. But if they're gonna leave, we're leaving here with something. You know what I mean? We're leaving with something. So yeah, I think he's leaving. And he has, I think again, he's another player like Haaland last season. He has the world that is like, the world is his oyster. He could pick nearly any team in the world and he will get into their team. Now, maybe not like as a first team every week, but he's in that squad 100%. So if it was me, if it's not Manchester United, I don't think we'll get him. I know we'll try, but I don't think we'll get him. But if it's not us, go Madrid. Please.
Yeah.
Stay away from England. Jude, look at me. Don't come here. If it's not Man United, please, I beg you, stay away.
Man United have a chance if we improve. Forget even being in Champions League because he's still young. You can get we can get Man United and Liverpool and probably City now and all the top teams. Arsenal have done it. We can all pull in players without Champions League football. A player like Jude, if the trajectory is good, United can get him. So if by the end of the season the football's looking better, more toxic players have gone, there's a feel-good factor at the club, you know, he could come because he knows there's a breeding ground for him to become better at. If it's as tumultuous and horrible and nasty as it was at the end of last season, I would personally say, please don't put yourself in this environment. We saw this very much a couple of summers before we got Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho was asked whether he'd go to Man United, and it was, I want to see how they progress for a while. And actually, things did get a little bit better, and you then wanted to come. And that's what we need to do. We need to get better. But I see Liverpool as the front runners for him. But who knows? Again, if Graham Potter starts cooking with Chelsea, they need a midfielder. Arsenal make it into the Champions. No, it's true. People write Arsenal off and go, no way. If Arsenal make it into the Champions League and they keep getting better and better and better, who knows? And even with City, like this kid, I think is so talented. Everyone's interested in him.
Madrid complete the trifecta. Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Bellingham, the three probably most talented young midfielders in the world right now, besides like the Pedris and all the other guys. Like those three, complete it, please. I beg.
Saying that because you have a feeling he's not going to go to United.
He's not coming United. I'm sorry. He ain't coming United. He ain't coming.
Listen, I don't make him favourites, but yeah, I hear where you're coming from. Let's go to some more of these comments here. You were judging him on goals. I will judge all attacking players on goals they score and or create, because that is literally their job. It's like saying, why are you judging a goalkeeper on saving shots? That's literally their job. A creator and a forward's job is to create and score. If you're not creating and or scoring, you're not doing your job properly. No matter how good the flicks and tricks look, you're just not. Not sure what you were watching. That was a clear 3-4-3. Do you know what's interesting about the way Chelsea played today? Again, most of the websites are showing it as 4 at the back. When I watched the game, I felt like it was 4 at the back. I've looked at the heat maps of players and where they were touching the balls. It very much appears that way. But I've always said it before. The starting lineup for me is such an insignificant talking point. It's about where your players operate when they've got the ball. Because even if it was a 3-4-3, which is essentially Tuchel's formation, Sterling was far more wide in this game as an example than he was under Tuchel. So it's more about where players operate in possession as opposed to how the graphic looks on the screen. But I appreciate the super chat, my friend. As a blue, Terry, Grealish is gash bet on for Haaland. Thank you very much. Chloe here says surely he is Pep's 100 million mistake. If Pep is good, he would never have got him.
Okay, so I have no idea if Jack Grealish was a Pep signing.
I think all signings are influenced by Pep, but the thing is, Pep won't get much stick for it because they're winning. You never do. You never get stick for bad signings when you're. It's like last year. If they would have lost out on that final day of the season to Liverpool, they'd have actually ended the season with no trophies. Then there would have been a conversation about Jack Grealish because they ended the season trophyless.
Now you can say that goal against West Ham to get that draw. You
could argue it's worth £100 million. They might not have got Haaland. Who knows? Yeah. Grealish reminds me of Batiste's Danielson. Fair enough. Victor here says, why sack a Champions League tested and trusted coach for an inexperienced Champions League manager, but trusted Championship manager? What happened to Mauricio Pochettino? I think I think with Chelsea, and I said it earlier on today, I can't remember the saying. Is it a watch pot doesn't boil? I think people they're looking, they can't see the wood for the trees with the plan that Todd Bowley's put in place, but things are going on. Things are going on, And I likened it to this. It's a stupid analogy, but it makes sense to me. When you put your kettle on to boil, is your kettle see-through?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, yours is see-through. Mine isn't. How do I know when it boils? Because the steam's coming out and it clicks and it goes off and I know it's boiled, right? If you've got a see-through kettle, you can see the thing bubbling along the whole time until it's actually boiled. This is what's going on. But I think what's going on at Chelsea right now is people can see everything that's going on. They're being so transparent. I think it's worrying people. It's worrying everyone. Oh, is this right? Is that wrong? Because they can see it. It's like panicking people. Where if you just wait, if it's just like, we don't know what's going on, we're not being told anything, and then at the end, you're just seeing the end product of it clicking. I don't think people are going to worry as much.
Like, as a fan with owners like, obviously, the Glazers, who don't say anything, who don't communicate, give me Todd Bowley. Because at least I know what he's trying to do. You know what I mean? At least I know if it's the right direction or not, I don't know. But at least I know he as an owner is plotting a path for the football club. And it's not just like,
I think a big
what's
part
happening?
of it is that if a lot of Chelsea fans are truthful, especially modern Chelsea, it's not a signing that.
No, I totally agree. And like I say, and that's a stupid analogy, but I feel like it's one of these things where it's almost, because we're now suddenly being shown the inner workings of what's going on, it's actually more confusing and frustrating and worrying and stressful for people, where if we just wait, to hear the kettle click. Oh, it's done now. It makes you feel a little bit better. And I get that picking Potter over Tuchel, it's like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I think it will make sense in the medium to long term. But the problem is with football fans is everybody wants instant gratification. I think Chelsea are trying to build something like Bayern Munich have got. I think they're trying to build something like Ajax have got with money. I think they're trying to build something that FSG have done at Liverpool, but with more money being spent. None of those systems were built overnight. Some of them have been around for decades. Some of them are more modern, but they all take time to build. You can't go from Roman system to what Todd Bowley's trying to build overnight. And some eggs have got to be broke.
If you listen to that interview where he mentioned the All-Stars game, people just focus on the All-Stars game. But he said in the same thing, that same session, oh yeah, listen, I know I don't understand. Basically paraphrasing, I know I don't understand football, but I will go and get the guys who do, and we'll build something here. And it's just like, how are people ignoring? Like, that's not a nice thing to hear from a rival fan. It's like, wait, he's actually willing to build and give it time and give it to the people who knows what they're doing. That is a dangerous proposition.
And the All-Star thing is a nonsense anyway, in the sense of all day I've heard people say, oh, it's too American, we don't need that. Well, back in the 80s, they used to do an England All-11 versus a World 11. I even saw that in the 90s and the noughties. So it's already existed in football in some capacity, where you would take the best 11 English players, it might have even been British, and they play against the rest of the world. I've seen that before on television, so it exists. People keep saying we don't need, we can't go against the traditions of the game. Well, I hope you don't watch Super Sunday. I hope you don't watch Monday Night Football. These were Americanisms. We took games from 3 p.m. on Saturdays, and we moved them literally to lunchtimes on Saturdays, evenings on Saturdays, lunchtimes on Sundays, late afternoon on Sundays, and Monday nights. Why? For television rights. Where do we get that idea from? America. Shirt sponsors, which help your clubs become as big as they are now, and our arm sponsors and hat sponsors and watch sponsors. All those commercial ideas taken from the United States of America. This is my issue with football fans. 1 minute we care about tradition, the next minute we're celebrating all the things and all the changes that have come into the game. And it's an absolute nonsense for me. Yeah, the All-Star game may never happen, but I'll tell you what will happen now. If suddenly it was worth loads of money, and that new money meant that your club could go out and buy a new superstar player, these clubs would be jumping on it. Jurgen Klopp was laughing about it. Listen, if FFG find out they can be paid £80 million for one of their players to take part, FSG are signing up to that tomorrow.
Give me the money, baby.
100%.
That's what they're saying.
100%. Joshua Jack here says, the reason why I want United to succeed is because we've been pulling players, and when we've been bad. Imagine the opposite. I hear what you're saying there. Lee Gunner here is saying, stop the Jack Grealish slander. My bro, he ain't performing. He might have only had 316 minutes this year. Why? Was he injured? Grealish this year?
Yeah, the start of the season. Yeah, he was injured at the start of the season.
Availability is the best ability. It's not my fault.
Was that about Valverde today? We didn't see the.
We didn't watch that game. We can't watch all the games.
But we did
mention him.
Yeah, we did speak about it. He's done very well for himself at Real Madrid. Very good young player.
The last 18, 12 months, because maybe I was behind the curve. I didn't see the vision, but the last year or so.
Yeah.
What a player.
Yeah, I agree. JW here says, greatest tradition in football is ignorance. I'll tell you another thing. I hope everyone that's against the traditions of the game requests their club get rid of all their boxes and all their hospitality suites and gives the money back from that. Because again, so Matt Busby went to America in the 50s, came back and said, I've just seen these amazing things at their stadiums. They have boxes. We should install them. So again, another Americanism that our clubs have taken. So whether it's the infrastructure of our clubs, the commercial element, or when we've moved games to, we've continually copied what America has done and added it to our sport for a long, long time. So why one suggestion suddenly, oh my God, Americans are ruining our game? It's a nonsense.
Yeah, my guy says halftime and halftime shows and cheerleaders. Oh, that makes me laugh still. Hey, that is something I say, no, yeah.
But the Champions, there isn't enough time for a halftime show because it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But the Champions League, the World Cups and that, they do opening ceremonies. They're very much NFL Super Bowled it up. These things, someone said to me the other day, we have no kind of playoffs in football.
Oh, wait, no, that's foolishness. Relegation playoffs all around Europe, the championship playoffs, you know what I mean?
Hang on, but knockout football, the Champions League after the group stage is a playoff. It's just the way it's worded. You know what I mean? It's just, honestly, I'm not always the biggest fan sometimes when I hear, like, we've obviously got Jess that comes on the show, and every now and then you're in here and it'll be like, yeah, it's not intermission, it's halftime. You have a little joke putting on the terminologies and stuff. But the way Americans that speak football, North Americans can speak football, is like, why are you talking about our sport? It's kind of weird to me. We've got one more call to do here. Chike's with us. What are you saying, Chike?
Hey, Terry, how you doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, my friend.
Hey.
What do you want to say?
I was just going to say, yeah, I saw the second goal with Erling Haaland. It was a joke. That was probably one of the best goals I've ever seen from him. And he's only 22, so I can't wait to see the goals that he scores in the near future this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you rank your chances at City of winning the Champions League this year at being?
10. 100 out of 100, or however we're going out of it. I think we'll win it. I really do. I think with Haaland now, he doesn't have that much to do, and he doesn't have to track back or anything. And with the likes of KDB and Bernardo Silva feeding him, giving him the ball, I really think we'll win the Champions League this year, no doubt.
Chico, what about Pep being Pep and the overthinking, the overcalculating, trying to be the guy from Money Heist with all these plans, and here comes this, you know what I mean? Like,
every time I hear that word, it raises my stress level, because if we'd played Rodri last year in the Champions League final, we may not have won it, but we may not have won it, but at least we would have had a better chance, because playing a no holding midfielder against a Chelsea team like that was just probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And when I saw the lineup, I was completely shocked that he didn't play a Rodri or even a Fernandinho. So.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think if Pep just doesn't do anything crazy in those big important games, you've got a great chance with Haaland being there. You do, Chike, exactly. My friend. Thank you for coming on, mate, and supporting the terrace. It means a great deal to me, my friend. We'll speak soon.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you so much, guys.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Lee Gunner here says neither is Mahrez. Yeah, but we're not talking about Mahrez's City career. We're not talking about Grealish this season per se. We're saying he's been a flop so far. Mahrez has got almost 50% of the games he's played in, he's scored and assisted. He's been pivotal in title-winning teams for Manchester City. Jack Grealish hasn't. So come on, Lee. Is that 4-1 now? I think that's 4-1 after the other day. It's 4-1 on that one, Lee. Listen, everyone that's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. KJ, Colleen, always a pleasure to share the screen with you. Javern over there on the technical side of things. Please make sure you download the Tops Kick 23 app. The link's in our description below or pinned into the live comment section, or you can scan that QR code on the screen right now as well. The cards are on their way, but I think by the time the next round comes along, we're going to be ready to start the fantasy football game as well, which will become a big part of these Champions League match reaction shows as well, where you'll be giving us your highlights and, of course, your instant reaction to these games. But until next time, everybody, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you. Welcome to the highlights and match reaction show for the UEFA Champions League. We are sponsored by our partners for the entire season at Tops Kick 23. Tops Kick are the official digital collectibles app of the UEFA Champions League. Tops Kick is back for the 22-23 season, where you can collect and trade your favorite players from across the Champions League with football fans all around the world. The app has new packs available every week, brand new cards, original artworks, and classic top card designs. Throughout the course of this season, I want to build with you the ultimate Champions League squad with Tops Kick. So get the app downloaded right now. It's available worldwide and it is free. I'm going to be playing along throughout the entire Champions League season from tonight right and through to the final, and I want to see you there. The link is available in the description below to download the Tops Kick 23 app. You can also scan the QR code that will be on the screen throughout the course of this stream. But make sure like buttons are being smashed. You're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Big shout out to Tops. Let's do this.